Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Handle That podcast. Now, this is the third and final installment of the three-part series where I was talking about the most important parts of negative mental health. We already covered depression in the first video. We covered anxiety in the second video, or episode rather. And now we're going to cover stress. Now, I'm pretty sure we all know exactly what stress is. Let me fix this microphone right quick. Stress is, if you don't already know, but stress is literally what happens to your body when you worry too much. This is why anxiety, depression, and stress all go hand in hand, because they all technically operate off the same system. They all technically give you the same symptoms, and they all pretty much do the same thing to your body. But they are definitely different in their own way, and I'll explain why. So, the difference between the three of them, start with depression. Depression is, in its simplest form, in its most simple form, depression is, a constant feeling of being down, a constant feeling of being sad, and just because you're not crying and stuff like that doesn't mean that you're not sad. That is different. How that's different from anxiety. Anxiety is more of a paranoid. It is more fueled by paranoia. Depression is fueled by, or it manifests itself as a persistent feeling of being down. Anxiety manifests itself as a persistent feeling of paranoia, of worry. You may not necessarily be down, but you are definitely worrying about everything that could go wrong, everything that might go wrong, and everything you think is going to go wrong, and how those two are different from stress. Stress is literally your body's response to a heightened sense of action. There's such thing as good stress and bad stress. Now, the good stress is, what happens when you're exercising. You're putting stress on your muscles. You're putting stress on your body to become a better version of itself. Whenever you lift heavy weights, or whenever you lift weights in general, you're basically tearing down your muscle fibers so that they can heal and be and reform bigger. That's good stress. But the stress that I'm talking about now is definitely bad stress. Now, that type of stress comes along when the first two, anxiety and depression, kind of, fuse together, and they kind of, put your body in such a weird space to where if you're constantly down and you're constantly paranoid, your stress levels are going to go through the roof. Think about, a job. If you work a job that you don't like, which 90 to 95% of us are, because that's what we were trained to do. We were literally conditioned. I'm going to make an episode about social conditioning, childhood conditioning. We were literally conditioned to work a 9-to-5 job until we get old and then die. We were never taught to, learn about credit, start our own businesses, work for ourselves. And, before I get too far off track, let me harp back. Bars. Think about a job you don't like. You wake up in the morning, you like, oh my God. That right there, see, that if you're not watching the video, I literally just, put my head in my hand, and I, was like, gave this face of defeat. You wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my God, I gotta go to this fucking job again. Oh my God. You are literally starting to develop negative stress in your body because you're forcing yourself to do something that you really don't want to do. And on top of that, it's not going to give you any good benefit at the end of the day. Like a lot of times, what separates that action, how should I say this? What separates good stress from bad stress? They can both be operated by that same, mode of, oh God, I don't want to do this thing, but I have to because of whatever. Good stress, you may not want to work out. You may not want to go for that run. You may not want to lift this weight. You may not want to, eat these types of foods consistently. But at the end of the day, they're going to give you a great result. The result is going to be something that can benefit you and your body in the long term. Whereas working a job that you don't want to, and it's not, and you don't see any future in it, is going to develop a lot of bad stress. If you have to work out and you have to eat right, you may, oh my God, I don't want to do this. But once you do it, you're going to get in the mode of, you know what, this isn't that bad. I actually can see, myself losing 20 pounds, 30 pounds, myself getting stronger, finally seeing my abs, being able to run without being tired after a quarter mile. These are all positive things that come in the form of, that come as a result of going through positive stress. But when you say things like, oh my God, I don't want to work this fucking job, I don't want to be here, I hate this place, I hate these people, oh my God, and then you start to move slow, your stress levels go up because you're basically telling your body that what I'm doing right now should be making me feel really bad, and your body's response to try to fix the problem is to produce stress, right? It's to get you ready to get out of there in a second, just get out of there quick. And when you don't, make a move or you don't act on it, it builds up and builds up and builds up, and it literally breaks you down from the inside. That's why they say stress can age you. That's why stress is literally called the silent killer. Because if you stress out for too long and for prolonged periods of time, it literally can give you a heart attack. It could give you kidney failure. It could give you, liver failure. It could, give you arthritis. It could literally give you all these negative things because you don't have the proper outlet to get rid of that stress. Like I said, I want it to be understood, stress can be used in a positive way, but the majority of us use it in a negative way because we allow it to dictate how we operate in a negative situation, right? So when you allow it to dictate how you operate in a negative situation, usually over time you start to develop the other deadly two, which is anxiety and depression. Now, if you are overly anxious, overly depressed, and overly stressed, you are literally knocking years off your life. I'm going to say that again. You are literally knocking years off of your life if you have all three of these. And like I said before, they all go hand in they all go hand in hand. One thing that I know for a fact is that when you get stressed out, when you get overly stressed out to where you feel as though you can't go on, that point right there, the I can't go on, that point right there, that is when the majority of people start to develop physical problems. Now, if you're able to put a cap on it before this, you should be all right. What comes along with the physical problems, stressful headaches, body aches, heart palpitations, or your heart kind of skips a beat or whatever, joint pains, joint problems, muscle failure, all of these things, stomach problems, gastrointestinal diseases, mood swings. These are all a result of being overly stressed out. You may lash out on people, and I tell people all the time, you have to find a sweet medium to get all of these emotions out of you, because the one thing you don't want to happen, you don't want for somebody to push you over the edge, and then you react on them and you just release all these years of stress and pent up aggression and all this stuff, when it's not really warranted for that person. That's just a hypothetical situation that is very possible. Excuse me. And I can say for a fact that stress will keep you up at night. These are all things that I've experienced. I have had, headaches that last for hours. I grew up as a kid. I had chronic migraines. I would literally get one bad migraine a month up until the age of like 15. So bad to the point to where I would literally cry. Like, my school was about 2.5 miles away, 3 miles away from where I lived, and I had to walk there every time. And I would literally cry the entire time just because the headache was so bad. But you fast forward to adulthood and I'm so stressed out, it's literally the same feeling. I'm not crying, but it's the same pain. Just this, it literally feels like somebody has their hand in my brain and is clenching their fists and opening their hands. It's so painful because the stress is manifesting itself in a way that is a direct result of my current mood, which at that time was completely negative. So now that we know, or now that we have a firm understanding of what stress is, of what negative stress is, now that we have a firm understanding of that, let's talk about what we could do as a means of, fixing the problem, as a means of coming up with solutions to not only get de-stressed, but to, I'm pouring some water because my mouth is really dry, not just get de-stressed, but I kind of hit the counter with my microphone on it. but not to get only de-stressed, but to put a cap on this thing forever. Now, one thing you could do is take a break from social media. I know I said this before. I'm probably going to say it again. Taking a break from social media is literally one of, if not the best thing you could do when you suffer from either depression, anxiety, or you're overly stressed. Why do I say that? Well, we literally give our lives to these devices right here, right? This is a Galaxy Note 10 Plus. Best phone I've ever had. Love the phone. But we literally give our lives to the devices that we have. You wake up in the morning, first thing you do is grab your phone. Check Instagram. Check Facebook. How many likes did I get on this post? How many shares did this post get? How many people sent me a friend request? How many people liked my post? How many people sent me an inbox? What's this person doing? What's that person doing? Oh, look, some drama. We live our lives through these phones, and prolonged exposure to a falsified reality literally separates you from what true reality really is. I'm going to say that one more time because that was pretty profound. Prolonged exposure to a falsified reality literally disconnects you, cuts you off from what true reality is. And if you're one of these people that have a problem with your position in life, if you're one of these people that don't necessarily like what you're doing right now, you don't like your job, you don't like your car, you don't like your relationship, you don't like your position, if you don't like any of that, and all you see is positive images of people doing great things, that can do one or two things to you. That could motivate you to get out of that shitty situation, or it could be, what the majority of people suffer from, it could make you feel worse about your position. Because if you were never given the tools to use proper motivation, or to use motivation in a proper way, you're more likely going to double down on how you feel and allow this person's, falsified reality to make your own true reality feel even worse. So taking a break from social media literally is setting the groundwork for what you need to do to change your reality, to change, your overly stressed body, right? Second thing, excuse me. The second thing you could do, and this is optional if you do or if you don't, cut your caffeine. Here again, like I said in the anxiety episode, in the mental health community, caffeine is literally called liquid stress. It's a stimulant, right? You don't want your brain to be stimulated. You don't want your body to be stimulated when you have high levels of stress. You're literally begging to have a panic attack if you do that, because your stress levels are so up. You're already on edge. You're already anxious. You're already just at alert, when there's really nothing going on, and you drink caffeine and it just spikes your levels. You're like, oh my God, you don't want that. If you don't want to, if you drink a lot of caffeine, coffee, Bang energy drinks or energy drinks, I don't know, Red Bull, Reign, Bang, Monster, if you drink those, or just plain coffee, try to scale back on that a little bit. You don't have to cut cold turkey, because I'm gonna tell you something. Caffeine withdrawals fucking suck. Okay, if you have built up an addiction, a slight addiction to caffeine, and then you just stop cold turkey, you're gonna have terrible headaches. You're gonna have body shakes. Your chest is gonna get tight. Your body's just gonna jump. You don't want that. So here again, if you do, scale back on it a little bit until you can wean off it properly. And if you don't even worry about it. Third thing you could do, check your diet. One thing, and when I say diet, I don't mean, I'm going on a diet. When I say diet, this is more of a bodybuilding fitness term. When I say the word diet, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going on a diet. That means the way you eat, your way of life as it pertains to the foods you eat. Check your diet. If it's overly fatty, overly sugary, high in carbohydrates, low in, essential food products, kind of flip that on its head. You can have your fun from time to time. If you want to eat, fried chicken, cheeseburgers, chicken sandwiches, french fries, pizza. If you want to eat all that, sweets, candies, muffins, all that shit, you can eat that in moderation. But the majority of your diet should be balanced. Lots of greens, lots of lean meats, lots of, high protein, high lean protein, fish, chicken breast, chicken thighs, lean ground beef. Try to eat nothing. If you were to eat ground beef, try not to go any lower than 80-20, 80% lean, 20% fat. Stick with the 93.7 brand, lean turkey, probiotic beverages, plenty of water, natural juices, fruit smoothies. If you have the smoothie shops all around here, like Smoothie King and stuff like that, fix the way you eat. Start to make your own foods instead of buying the foods, at fast food restaurants, because those foods are literally designed to keep you coming back for more of them. They're literally designed to be addictive, So check your diet, man. If your diet is out of control, kind of fix that. And the fourth thing you could do is breathe. Now, I know that is the most cliche shit that you could hear, like, man, breathe. I'm breathing right now. But if you literally just breathe, just breathe in, breathe out. I do this one thing, and I've been doing this since I've been a kid. I don't know when I started doing it, but I've been doing it ever since. Whenever I get overwhelmed, whenever I'm like, let's just say, for example, I'm cleaning up my living room, which I'm in right now. If I'm, okay, I got to move the computer. I got to move the couch. I got to move this water. I got to move this. I got to move that. I got to move all this stuff. And then it's like, my brain is like, okay, we got to do this. I get overwhelmed. So every time I get overwhelmed, I just take a deep breath in, hold it for a second, and now even right then, and I'm not overwhelmed, I feel this sense of weight just lifted off me. Now I can think properly, because the one thing we don't take advantage of how important proper breathing really is. If you can breathe proper, you can think proper. If you can think properly, you can move and execute things properly. If you can execute things properly, you can get a proper result. You can get a good result out of that. But if you're overly anxious and you're trying to move and do 1,000 things at once, you might cause yourself to pass out. You don't want that, right? So I'm gonna end it all with this. I really hope you all enjoyed this little, 3-part series that I put together talking about the most important parts of negative mental health. I really hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to take advantage of the research that's out there. You can research, how do I de-stress? How do I get to this level from where I'm at? How can I do this? How can I do that? There's literally thousands upon thousands upon thousands of ways that you can literally do this thing. And all you have to do is just take the time, figure out exactly what's going on with you, and act accordingly, move accordingly. Drink more tea, drink more green tea, drink more black tea with honey, certain herbs and spices like cinnamon, turmeric. These are things that literally calm the body down. With that being said, man, I really hope y'all enjoyed this episode specifically, because coming from the level in which I was at, being overly stressed, being stressed out it's just terrible. Especially if you gotta work a job that you hate and you're stressed out. That's just a recipe for disaster. So with that being said, for the 3rd time, I hope you enjoyed this video, or episode rather. Make sure to follow the video or follow the podcast on Anchor and Instagram and Twitter at the Handle That Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the Handle That Podcast YouTube channel. I want everybody to stay groovy, stay cool, calm, and collected. Learn to de-stress your body. Breathe. And above all else, handle that.